Welcome to the CEO Story, brought to you by KC Chauhan, founder of Together CFO, where every week we're interviewing the top CEOs in various industries, sharing their journey and extracting the top things that made them successful. Hi, ladies and gentlemen. Today we've got a treat for you. We have the CEO and co-founder of Rhythm, Craig Cooke. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. How are you doing?
Very good. Thank you, KC, for having me.
No problem. Craig, you've got a fantastic career, and it hasn't even begun to get close to finishing right now. Can you take us through some kind of high points and low points along your journey so far?
Sure. So the quick summary is I run a digital marketing agency called Rhythm, and we've been in business for 24 years now. And it's been an interesting ride, a lot of challenges. Been through the whole .com crash, been through 9/11, been through the Great Recession, and here we are today with everything that's going on, fighting the good fight, getting through it, and doing very well, actually. And along those challenging points, there's been many successes, though. It was slow managed growth. The first half at least, but then right around 2012, we hit a really good growth stride, got on the Inc. 5000 list 5 years in a row, along with some other accomplishments that are really cool that maybe we'll get into in a bit. But there's just been growing the team. There's about 35 of us. We're located in Orange County in California, and we do work with a lot of great clients, Acura being one, do a lot of work for them. A lot of healthcare, real estate, and
you have some great logos. One of the things that really stood out when looking at your website, which is rhythmagency.com, was some of the huge logos that you work with. So I think a lot of the people listening will be really interested to hear the story of how you first acquired your big major client like Johnson & Johnson or Marriott, GE, American Airlines, US Bank, the list just keeps going on, but how you initially broke into getting some of those bigger clients and what made it work so well, and then continue to kind of build momentum from there.
Sure. Yeah. So from the very beginning, I started the business when I was 25, so fairly young. At the time, started it with $1,300 in a computer, along with a couple friends. We all put in $1,300 a piece, and really didn't have any connections. And we started as a digital first company, marketing independent music online. And that was a challenge in and of itself, because working with musicians, they didn't have any money. They would blow all their money on.
They still don't.
They still don't. They would make all their money or blow all their money making their CDs. And then there was this internet thing that was so new back in 1996 when we started. And so we were really starting at the bottom, and working with independent musicians. Making money off of them was like pulling teeth. It was very challenging. So you could say that was at the very bottom of the stairwell, and we had a lot of steps to climb up to work with the brands that we do today. And it just took effort, just getting out there, getting to meet people. And over time, we started providing some CD replication and printing services for musicians, and made this one particular contact that started allowing us to provide those services to companies. And in addition to that, there were some other people along the way that said, this internet stuff, can you do a website for our company? Sure. So we started to meet people through networking, and they would introduce us to others. And it was just kind of slow stair-stepping with small businesses to suddenly a little more larger business to a medium-sized business. And then right around 2001, 2002, there was a couple people that we came across and hit it off with and made a really great relationship with. And they had a really deep Rolodex in the pharmaceutical industry, healthcare, but really specific in pharmaceutical. And it was two guys that had this Rolodex, and they really were sales guys, but they were very smart too, not more than just sales guys. They were very intelligent. and they positioned themselves as this big media company that could do all this stuff. Well, in reality, it was Rhythm. It was us that were doing 95% of the work. But they had this deep Rolodex, and I would go around the country with them selling our solutions that we came up with to these big, large pharma companies. And that was really big for us, because suddenly we started getting these big caliber names in our portfolio. And once we started getting those names, and made those conversations with other companies and other industries easier. Companies that were really good size.
Let's dig into that a little bit, Craig, because I think it's a really good point in terms of partnering or collaborating with people that kind of make you more well-rounded. In this case, they were kind of taking all your talent and repackaging it and white labeling it as their own. But generally, when we take it one level deeper, effectively, they had a really good Rolodex. You had really good talent, and you came together to both become successful from it. So how did you find them, create the relationship, add the value, and really dig back all those years? I know it was a long time ago, but if you're giving that advice to some people listening, what would you advise them to do to find people with talents that complement theirs in order to get a win-win?
Yeah, it really has to do with putting yourself out there and networking with new people, but also people from your past. In this particular case, those two gentlemen we met through a friend of ours that we knew in college, actually. And he had contacted us and say, why don't you come to dinner with me? I have a friend that I think would be a good relationship for you guys, and it'd be good for him, good for you guys. Sure. And it took off from there, just a simple dinner. And in that case, our friend reached out to us. We could have, it's all about those connections that you make. And you never know that it could be next week, it could be next month, it could be a year from now, it could be 3 years down the road, 5 years down the road, that suddenly that connection provides you with an opportunity that could be a big game changer.
Got it. So it's reaching out to network to see if they know anyone first, and meeting them, being open. Like, there's a lot of professional networks out there right now, like Provisors, BNI, Latip, the list goes on and on. Have any of them been helpful for you specifically?
You know, I used to belong to BNI a long time ago, but yeah, that was in the early days, and there was a little bit, but nothing of real big value. Got better like in more industry-related associations. Actually made a very good contact with an agency partner that we still do work with today, to this day, actually. Met them about 10 years ago, and that was with a local chapter of the American Advertising Federation. And I was at an event and just happened to be standing next to this guy, and we started chatting and hit it off. And next thing, he brings us in on a client opportunity that became our biggest client for a number of years, and we're still doing work with today. And he also introduced us to Acura, which is arguably our biggest client today. And we still do work with that agency, and it's a great relationship, great partnership. But that was by putting myself out there, being in an event, and striking up a conversation.
So you never really know where you're going to meet these people, but if you're in the right environment and you're open and willing to kind of put a hand out and reach and connect with someone, you never know where it might lead, right?
Absolutely. And anyone who's listening out there that may be kind of shy, take it from me. I was extremely shy, especially in high school. And when I was in college, I started to break out of that, but I was still, pretty shy. Once I got out into starting the business, and I just realized that I got to get out there. I got to, at these networking events, I had to really force myself to network. And you have to put yourself in play. You can't be a spectator in the stands. And
so you said you were really shy, Craig. What were some of the actual tangible steps that you did, or that helped you to kind of get out of your comfort zone and go do some of those things that you didn't really want to do inside, but you knew were essential?
Yeah, I think a big part, college, the college experience helped me break out of that shyness to a certain degree. And it at least gave me the foundation of realizing, okay, yeah, in order for me to make friends, make connections, I have to put myself out there. I have to initiate. I have to be in places and situations of where I can be involved in conversations. So in the business settings, I just started looking for various events and groups and so forth, and I just knew I had to put myself out there based on that prior experience, and just its general conversations. And I think just looking back, I was uncomfortable, but being that there wasn't a lot of money, it was a really struggle. I had to do it, or it was starve.
I think that's the key, though. A lot of the times people will be listening and they'll be like at a critical point, and it's make or break. So it's like, I've got to do this, or like you said, just starve.
It's just like hunting in the days of old. You couldn't just expect the big game to come to you. You had to go out there and hunt. You had to go do it.
It's a very good analogy. So let's fast forward a few years now, and now you've got Rhythm, you've got some great clients, some big accounts and logos. How are you then building up your organization, your culture, your team, and then acquiring more clients and going it on your own rather than through this partnership that you have?
Yeah, that's a great question. So when getting things started, it's different today than it was back in the early days, because again, very, very modest beginnings, no funding, very little money. It was kind of make money and then invest back in. And one thing I did in order to make extra money for myself, I went to teach at some junior colleges too, in particular. And I had a plan that, okay, getting busier and we need some help. Need to make a little extra money on the side to sustain me. But I'm going to look for the best students and train them exactly how I want things done through the teaching job, and bring them on board. And that's like step one. And that's exactly what happened. At two different colleges, I hired the two best students that I was teaching, brought them on board. They were students, so the labor was inexpensive. So it's what I was able to afford, and that enabled me to free up my time to then do other things that needed to be done. And then from there, it was just kind of that same aspect of get to a certain level, too busy to wearing too many hats, not enough time in the day, too many things. You need to bring in a person to take care of X. And it was a matter of just continuing to do that and being willing to let go and bring on someone and put trust in someone else to do that particular job. It's super important. It's the only way to scale.
It's the hardest part of growing a business, I find, when, the different cycles of a business that you've obviously been through. I find the clients that we deal with at an early stage are just kind of very, very deep into everything, wearing multiple hats, but then learning the art of delegation and really trusting and training staff, and having systems and processes around doing that is a different set of skills in itself. And kind of when you get past a certain level of revenue, let's say $1 million to $2 million, it's a completely different game to go from 2 to 5 than it is initially going from 0 to 2. Did you experience any of that, and how did that look for Rhythm?
Absolutely, you hit it right on the head. That up to 1 million point, it was a certain game, but then you surpass that, and then it's another whole level. You're going from that, say, 2.5 to 5 million. That's a whole other level, and then breaking past that 5 million mark, well, that's a whole other game, and the number of employees, I would say, going from 4 to 10, that was a certain type of game that was that had its own little mix of challenges and just various things to contend with. Hitting 15 or so to 20, that was a whole different level. Getting past 20, wow, that's okay. This is getting pretty interesting. The more people, you think it's easier, but there's a lot more challenges too.
It is. Like, finance is a great one. You know, when we come in and we see businesses and pretty much at the lower end of the spectrum, they're not too worried about cash flow because they know roughly what's going on. But then when you've got 20 people on payroll and the headcount's high, and it's all about now making sure that the reserves in the bank and AR's coming in, and you're controlling your burn rate if you're in tech, or, you know, your AP if you're in a more of a regular business. And it's a different set of problems as you go up. And one of the good sayings that I read in a book, I can't remember which book, but it's the team that's got you where you are is not the team that's going to get you where you want to be.
Yeah, it might be Marshall Goldsmith, maybe. I think he wrote a book, something like that. Yeah.
The gist of it is that every milestone that you meet, or when you start to plateau, you'll feel it. And then you know you have to rescale or upscale and increase the quality and the capability of the staff. And that's in various departments. So how do you kind of go about knowing which departments to beef up and when to do that?
Yeah, that's a great question. It really, in our experience, it's been a function of the demand that was being placed upon us at any given time. So we kind of built up our creative side before our tech side back in the early days. Once we had such a steady stream of tech aspects of the work that we were producing, where it made the economic sense to bring on full-time staff and rather than outsource those portions, then we start to bring in that type of talent. When we had the design talent and the tech talent and some account team talent, there's all this work, and we realized, you know what, we need to now centralize the whole traffic management of all this work. So we brought on a traffic manager, because the nature of the demand of all the activity that was in place needed 40 hours at least oversight. And so it necessitated that position. So it's a lot of that. It's identifying what do we need based on our workload at the time. And also, all right, now it's time to break things up to another level. What's the type of person that we need that can help take us up another level? And that was looking to the outside, to your point earlier. Yeah, you get so far with the people that you have, but sometimes you need to bring in someone from the outside that's going to bring in all this experience and industry know-how that it's going to help take you up another level. And we did that a whole number of times, and that's about building your team up too, and
it's a cycle, right? That never ends in terms of one, developing your own staff and improving your people, but then also increasing the overall size of the business. It's kind of, it's strategy versus the day-to-day running of the business, right? It's a different view of it all.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, okay, as we look into wrapping up, what are kind of the next steps in the evolution and the future of Rhythm over the next 5 to 10 years? And where do you see kind of the digital marketing, VR, AR, IR, all of these new concepts that are coming into light? Do you have an opinion on what you think is really going to excel next?
Sure. So over the next 5 to 10 years, one thing we did at Rhythm after being in business for 20 years, we decided to sell the company, to be acquired. And that is because we wanted to take things to a whole nother level. And we had some great clients, great success, but we didn't want to spend another 20 years with all the energy it takes to reach a whole new level. We decided based on, that's one of the factors. And there's some other factors too, but that was the big one. And why not just find the right strategic acquirer that can take us to that next level in a much expedited manner? So that's what we did.
So you've sold the company or a part of the company already?
I sold 100% of the company actually, and we sold it. It funded on the 23rd year anniversary to the day of our company being in business. Yeah, yeah. So now we've been in it at a year and a half with our parent company, which is a great agency called Code and Theory. They're based out of New York City. They're the only digital agency that's on this year's Ad Age A list in the top 10. They were number 8, and they're doing big stuff. And they're a wonderful company. They're owned by the Staglow Group, which is a newer holding company that's a collection of digital first companies, which we were born digital first, and Code and Theory is digital first. And that's a philosophy that we believe in. So the next 5 to 10 years is doing great work for great clients, expanding our great portfolio, doing bigger budgets, bigger projects. It's a lot of digital transformation. Yeah, it's a funny that buzzword's been used so much over the past couple of years, 2-3 years or so. But I argue that we've been doing digital transformation since day one back in 1996.
It's always changing. It's fast moving, right? Whether it's a recession hitting you or whether it's the introduction of a new platform you have to learn, from MySpace to Facebook to Twitch, it's to a penny, right? It seems that there's always something new to innovate and learn.
Yeah, that's one thing, that it's never boring. That's for sure. There's always something to learn.
So number 1 is, how lucky were you? Number 2, how skillful and determined? And 3 is experience. How important are those 3 things if you had to split it over a spectrum?
Yeah, I would say that that determination is the biggest share. That would be at least half of it right there for sure. Just having the sheer determination to persevere and to have faith and belief in yourself and higher power, for those that do have that all helps. Really gets you through those dark nights, which I've had, the moments that you want to quit. That's what gets you through. I would say the skill set, that's probably a good another 40% at least. The last 10% of luck, which I like to think of luck as just being prepared for opportunity. I believe that if you have sincere intentions and that you sincerely want to bring value to the world and to the people that you serve, have a service to others mindset rather than, say, pure service to self, things are going to come your way. And it's not really luck. It's just whatever you want to call it, coming your way, because that's what is supposed to happen.
Got it. Well, I've written that down because I thought that was really important. Craig, thank you so much for taking the time. How can people reach you if they wanted to get in touch?
Oh, great. Thank you. Okay. Well, email is always great. My email address is really easy. It's craig.cooke@rhythmagency.com. People might have a hard time spelling it. It's if people are seeing this on video, that's spelling right there, RHYTHM. So craig.cooke@rhythmagency.com. And you can find our website at www.rhythmagency.com. Of course, our contact form and phone number is on there as well. But and then you can find me on LinkedIn at Craig Cooke, actually. So super easy. Twitter, Craig Cooke, super easy.
And we'll put the links down below here so that you guys watching on YouTube
Perfect.
can just press a link and get straight through to Craig. So Craig, thank you so much for taking the time to share those nuggets.
Yeah, thanks, Casey. I really appreciate it.